Most people think police reports document serious crimes, traffic violations, and emergency situations that require law enforcement intervention. Then there are these reports, which prove that people will call the police about absolutely anything, and that officers have to maintain professional composure while documenting the most ridiculous situations imaginable. Buckle up for a masterclass in how normal people can create extraordinary problems for themselves. 1. A man in Florida called police to report that his neighbor's garden gnome was staring at him menacingly and demanded officers arrest the ceramic figure for harassment. The complainant provided detailed documentation of the gnome's aggressive facial expression and claimed it had been glaring at him through his kitchen window for 6 months. Police arrived to find a standard decorative gnome facing the caller's house, and after careful investigation, determined that garden ornaments don't constitute criminal behavior, regardless of their perceived attitude. 2. A woman in Texas filed a report claiming her ex-husband had stolen her emotional support chicken during their divorce, demanding police retrieve the bird and arrest her former spouse for theft. The chicken, named Mr. Clucksworth, had allegedly provided crucial psychological support during their marriage and was worth $50,000 in emotional damages, according to the complainant. Officers discovered the chicken was actually a regular backyard hen that her ex-husband had purchased himself, and that emotional support chickens aren't recognized by any medical or legal authority. 3. A man in Ohio called 911 to report that his microwave was plotting against him by heating food unevenly, claiming the appliance was deliberately sabotaging his meals as part of a kitchen appliance conspiracy. He provided officers with burned hot pockets as evidence of the microwave's malicious intent and demanded they confiscate the device before it could harm other innocent leftovers. Police determined the microwave was functioning normally and suggested the caller might benefit from reading the instruction manual rather than filing criminal charges against kitchen equipment. 4. A couple in Nevada contacted police because their neighbors were breathing too loudly during their morning jogs, claiming the heavy breathing constituted noise pollution, and demanded officers cite the joggers for disturbing the peace. The complainants had documented breathing patterns with a decibel meter and created a detailed chart showing peak respiratory volume during different exercise activities. Officers observed the joggers and determined that breathing while exercising was both normal and legal, and that neighbors don't have authority to regulate other people's respiratory functions. 5. A woman in California filed a report claiming her hairdresser had assaulted her personality by giving her a haircut that didn't match her astrological sign, demanding police arrest the stylist for cosmic malpractice. She argued that Leos require specific hair lengths to maintain their natural confidence and that shortening her mane had damaged her spiritual alignment. Police discovered that personality assault isn't a recognized crime and that hairstylists aren't required to consult astrology charts before cutting hair. 6. A man in Michigan called police to report that squirrels in his backyard were organized into a criminal enterprise and were systematically stealing his birdseed in coordinated attacks. He provided surveillance footage of squirrels working together to access his bird feeders and claimed they had established a hierarchical command structure for seed theft operations. Officers observed typical squirrel behavior and explained that wildlife foraging isn't subject to racketeering laws, regardless of how organized the animals appear. 7. A woman in Georgia contacted authorities because her GPS device had betrayed her trust by providing incorrect directions to a restaurant, causing her to arrive 15 minutes late for dinner reservations. She demanded police arrest the GPS manufacturer for intentional misdirection and false advertising, claiming the device had deliberately sabotaged her evening plans. Officers explained that navigation errors aren't criminal offenses and that GPS devices can't be charged with betrayal or conspiracy against dinner plans. 8. A man in Arizona filed a report claiming his shadow was following him illegally and had been stalking him for over 40 years without his consent. He provided photographs of his shadow in various locations as evidence of persistent, unauthorized surveillance and demanded police issue a restraining order against his own silhouette. Officers explained that shadows are natural phenomena caused by light obstruction and that people can't obtain restraining orders against parts of themselves. 9. A couple in Oregon called police to report that their houseplants were eavesdropping on private conversations and demanded officers search the vegetation for hidden recording devices. They claimed their ferns had been acting suspiciously and believed their philodendron was working as an informant for nosy neighbors who wanted to monitor their personal discussions. Police searched the plants thoroughly and found no surveillance equipment, explaining that houseplants don't have ears or the ability to record human conversations. 10. A woman in Idaho contacted authorities because her coffee maker was discriminating against her by producing weak coffee despite using the same settings every morning. She claimed the machine was deliberately providing substandard beverages because it didn't respect her as an owner and demanded police investigate the appliance for civil rights violations. Officers determined that coffee makers can't discriminate and suggested the complainant might need to clean her machine or try different coffee grounds. 11. A man in Colorado called 911 to report that clouds in the sky were following his car during his daily commute, creating what he believed was a government surveillance operation using weather patterns. He provided detailed documentation of cloud movements over several weeks and claimed meteorological stalking was a violation of his privacy rights. Police explained that clouds move naturally with wind patterns and that weather systems aren't controlled by law enforcement agencies or government surveillance programs. 12. A woman in Utah filed a report claiming her neighbor's Wi-Fi network name, Free Internet, was false advertising because the network was password protected and demanded police cite the neighbor for consumer fraud. She had repeatedly tried to connect to the network and felt deceived when her attempts were blocked by password requirements. Officers explained that Wi-Fi network names aren't subject to truth in advertising laws and that neighbors aren't required to provide free internet access regardless of their network naming choices. 13. A man in Vermont contacted police because his alarm clock was attacking him psychologically by waking him up every morning at the scheduled time, claiming the clock was causing emotional distress through persistent time harassment. He demanded officers confiscate the clock and arrest it for assault, providing medical documentation of sleep disruption and morning grumpiness as evidence. Police determined that alarm clocks performing their intended function don't constitute criminal behavior and suggested the caller might benefit from adjusting his bedtime rather than filing charges against timekeeping devices. 14. A couple in Maine called authorities to report that their refrigerator was hoarding food by keeping items cold without their explicit permission, claiming the appliance had developed an eating disorder that required professional intervention. They demanded police conduct a wellness check on their refrigerator and arrange counseling services for appliances with food-related behavioral problems. Officers explained that refrigerators are designed to preserve food and that kitchen appliances don't require mental health services or eating disorder treatment. 15. A woman in New Hampshire filed a report claiming her cell phone was cheating on her with other users by receiving calls and texts from numbers she didn't recognize. She believed her phone had developed romantic relationships with unknown contacts and demanded police investigate her device for infidelity and emotional betrayal. Officers examined the phone and discovered normal telecommunications functions, explaining that receiving calls from unknown numbers isn't evidence of electronic device adultery. 16. A man in Alabama called police to report that his lawnmower was on strike and refused to start despite his repeated attempts, demanding officers arrest the machine for work refusal and breach of contract. He claimed the mower had violated their ownership agreement by failing to perform lawn maintenance duties and was engaging in illegal labor protest activities. Police discovered the mower was out of gas and suggested the caller might achieve better results with fuel rather than criminal charges against landscaping equipment. 17. A woman in Tennessee contacted authorities because her washing machine was gossiping about her dirty laundry to other appliances in the house, claiming she could hear the machines discussing her personal hygiene habits. She demanded police investigate the appliance communication network and install surveillance equipment to monitor inter-device conversations about her clothing choices. Officers listened carefully to the washing machine and determined it was making normal mechanical sounds rather than gossiping about laundry or engaging in appliance social networking. 18. A man in Kentucky filed a report claiming his toaster was discriminating against white bread by burning lighter bread varieties while properly toasting darker breads, constituting what he called carbohydrate racism. He provided evidence in the form of burned toast samples and demanded police investigate his kitchen for civil rights violations against baked goods. Officers tested the toaster and found it was simply set to a high darkness setting, explaining that appliance preferences for bread coloration aren't subject to discrimination laws. 19. A couple in North Carolina called 911 to report that their garage door opener was holding their car hostage by refusing to open when they pressed the remote control button. They claimed the garage door was engaged in extortion by demanding battery replacement before releasing their vehicle from mechanical captivity. Police arrived to find a garage door opener with dead batteries and explained that mechanical failure doesn't constitute kidnapping, even when it involves temporarily trapped vehicles. 20. A woman in South Carolina contacted police because her blender was too aggressive during smoothie preparation, claiming the appliance was using excessive force against fruits and vegetables in violation of food safety regulations. She demanded officers arrest the blender for assault against produce and cited concerns about violent food preparation techniques in her kitchen. Police observed normal blender operation and explained that vigorous mixing is the intended function of food preparation appliances, not evidence of kitchen equipment violence. 21. A man in Mississippi called authorities to report that his television remote control was conspiring with the cable company to prevent him from changing channels during commercial breaks, claiming electronic collusion designed to force advertising consumption. He provided detailed documentation of remote control failures during specific programs and demanded police investigate corporate conspiracy between his remote and telecommunications providers. Officers tested the remote and discovered weak batteries, suggesting the caller replace them rather than pursue criminal charges against entertainment technology. 22. A woman in Arkansas filed a report claiming her vacuum cleaner was eating her carpet by removing too much dirt and debris during cleaning sessions, alleging the appliance had developed cannibalistic tendencies toward floor coverings. She demanded police conduct a psychological evaluation of her vacuum and arrange intervention services for appliances with destructive consumption behaviors. Officers examined the carpet and vacuum, finding normal cleaning results and explaining that dirt removal is the intended purpose of vacuum cleaners rather than evidence of appliance cannibalism. 23. A man in Louisiana contacted police because his air conditioner was discriminating against hot air by cooling his house without treating warm and cool air equally, claiming temperature prejudice violated his home's atmospheric civil rights. He demanded officers investigate his HVAC system for thermal bias and ensure equal treatment for all air molecules regardless of temperature. Police explained that air conditioning systems are designed to reduce temperature and that thermal modification isn't a form of discrimination against weather conditions. 24. A couple in Missouri called 911 to report that their dishwasher was waterboarding their dishes by subjecting plates and cups to high-pressure water streams during cleaning cycles, alleging torture of kitchen items. They demanded police investigate their appliance for violations of dish rights and cited concerns about aggressive cleaning techniques that might traumatize their dinnerware. Officers observed normal dishwasher operation and explained that water-based cleaning isn't torture, even when applied to dishes that might find the process unpleasant. 25. A woman in Iowa filed a report claiming her ceiling fan was creating weather patterns in her living room that were disrupting her indoor climate control and demanding police investigate unauthorized atmospheric modification. She provided wind speed measurements and claimed the fan was generating microclimates that violated her home's natural air circulation rights. Officers observed typical ceiling fan operation and explained that air circulation appliances are designed to move air rather than create illegal weather systems in residential environments. 26. A man in Kansas called police to report that his doorbell was harassing visitors by ringing when people pressed the button, claiming the device was engaging in noise assault against anyone who approached his house. He demanded officers arrest his doorbell for disturbing the peace and cited concerns about acoustic aggression toward delivery personnel and guests. Police tested the doorbell and found normal operation, explaining that doorbell activation in response to button pressing is the intended function rather than evidence of harassment against visitors. 27. A woman in Nebraska contacted authorities because her smoke detector was crying wolf by beeping when it detected cooking smoke, claiming the device was providing false alarms that violated her kitchen safety trust. She demanded police investigate her smoke detector for filing false reports and cited concerns about appliance dishonesty during meal preparation activities. Officers tested the detector and found it was responding appropriately to smoke, explaining that smoke detection devices are designed to alert homeowners to potential fire hazards rather than provide false alarms. 28. A man in Wisconsin filed a report claiming his garbage disposal was consuming evidence by destroying food waste that might be needed for future investigations, alleging obstruction of justice through organic matter elimination. He demanded police monitor his disposal unit and preserve all food scraps as potential evidence in unspecified future criminal proceedings. Officers explained that garbage disposals are designed to eliminate food waste, and that routine kitchen cleanup doesn't constitute evidence destruction or obstruction of justice. 29. A couple in Minnesota called police to report that their thermostat was gaslighting them by displaying different temperatures than what they felt in the room, claiming the device was engaged in psychological manipulation through climate-controlled deception. They demanded officers investigate their thermostat for mental abuse and cited concerns about appliance manipulation of their thermal perception and comfort levels. Police checked the thermostat calibration and found accurate temperature readings, explaining that personal comfort preferences don't always match actual room temperature measurements. 30. A woman in North Dakota contacted authorities because her printer was discriminating against certain fonts by printing some typefaces clearly while producing poor quality results for others, alleging typography prejudice in violation of document formatting rights. She provided print samples as evidence and demanded police investigate her printer for font discrimination and bias against specific text styles. Officers examined the printer and discovered it needed new ink cartridges, explaining that print quality issues are typically related to supplies rather than font prejudice. 31. A man in South Dakota called 911 to report that his computer mouse was refusing to cooperate with his clicking commands, claiming the device was engaged in civil disobedience against his digital authority and demanding police arrest the mouse for insubordination. He documented instances where the mouse failed to respond to his clicks and claimed the device was violating their user agreement through rebellious behavior. Police discovered the mouse needed new batteries and explained that input device malfunctions aren't acts of civil disobedience against computer users. 32. A woman in Wyoming filed a report claiming her electric toothbrush was tickling her teeth without consent during brushing sessions, alleging assault through unauthorized dental stimulation and demanding police investigate her oral care device for inappropriate touching. She claimed the vibration feature was too aggressive and constituted unwanted physical contact with her dental structure. Officers examined the toothbrush and found normal operation, explaining that vibration-based cleaning is the intended function of electric toothbrushes rather than evidence of assault against teeth. 33. A man in Montana contacted police because his leaf blower was harassing the neighbor's leaves by moving them from his yard to adjacent properties, claiming the device was engaging in territorial aggression against vegetation belonging to other homeowners. He demanded officers mediate the leaf dispute and establish clear boundaries for acceptable debris relocation during yard work activities. Police explained that leaf movement during yard maintenance is normal, and that leaves don't have property rights that can be violated by landscaping equipment. 34. A couple in Delaware called authorities to report that their security system was paranoid and kept triggering false alarms when nobody was breaking into their house, claiming the system had developed anxiety disorders that required professional mental health intervention. They demanded police arrange therapy for their security equipment and cited concerns about electronic hypersensitivity affecting their home protection devices. Officers tested the system and found it was responding to normal environmental changes, explaining that sensitive security equipment doesn't require psychological counseling for performing its intended function. 35. A woman in Rhode Island filed a report claiming her hairdryer was committing assault against her hair by using hot air without her follicles' explicit permission, alleging unauthorized thermal treatment of her scalp and hair strands. She demanded police investigate her hair care routine for violations of follicle rights and cited concerns about appliance aggression during grooming activities. Officers observed normal hairdryer operation and explained that heated air application is the intended purpose of hair dryers rather than assault against hair or scalp tissue. 36. A man in Connecticut contacted police because his electric shaver was too enthusiastic about removing facial hair, claiming the device was engaging in overzealous grooming that violated his whiskers' right to exist peacefully on his face. He demanded officers regulate his shaver's aggressiveness and establish legal limits for acceptable facial hair removal techniques. Police examined the shaver and found normal operation, explaining that efficient hair removal is the intended function of electric shavers rather than evidence of grooming device enthusiasm requiring legal regulation. 37. A woman in Massachusetts called 911 to report that her coffee grinder was torturing coffee beans through excessive grinding action, alleging cruel and unusual treatment of caffeinated plant matter during beverage preparation. She demanded police investigate her kitchen for violations of coffee bean rights and cited concerns about appliance violence against agricultural products. Officers observed normal coffee grinding and explained that bean processing is necessary for coffee preparation rather than torture of plant matter. 38. A man in New Jersey filed a report claiming his lawn sprinkler was waterboarding his grass by subjecting his yard to high-pressure water treatment without the lawn's consent, alleging torture of vegetation through aggressive irrigation techniques. He demanded police investigate his sprinkler system for violations of grass rights and establish humane watering standards for residential landscaping. Officers observed typical sprinkler operation and explained that lawn irrigation is beneficial to grass rather than torture of vegetation. 39. A couple in New York contacted authorities because their dishwasher detergent was too harsh on their plates, claiming the cleaning product was engaging in chemical assault against their dinnerware and demanding police investigate their kitchen for violations of dish safety regulations. They provided photographs of clean plates as evidence of excessive cleaning and claimed their dishes were traumatized by the thorough washing process. Police examined the dishes and found them properly cleaned, explaining that effective dish cleaning isn't assault against dinnerware. 40. A woman in Pennsylvania called police to report that her exercise bike was forcing her to work out by existing in her bedroom where she could see it, claiming the equipment was engaged in fitness harassment through persistent visual motivation. She demanded officers remove the bike from her site and cited concerns about exercise equipment, psychological pressure affecting her lifestyle choices. Police explained that exercise equipment doesn't constitute harassment simply by existing in the same room as its owner. 41. A man in Maryland contacted authorities because his electric can opener was discriminating against certain can sizes by failing to open some containers while working perfectly on others, alleging size prejudice in violation of canned goods equality rights. He provided evidence in the form of unopened cans and demanded police investigate his kitchen for discrimination against diverse container dimensions. Officers tested the can opener and found it worked properly on standard-sized cans, explaining that not all containers are designed for electric can opener compatibility. 42. A woman in Virginia filed a report claiming her washing machine's spin cycle was making her dizzy even though she wasn't inside the machine, alleging remote motion sickness caused by appliance operation and demanding police investigate her laundry room for violations of her inner ear stability rights. She claimed the machine's rotation was affecting her balance through sympathetic motion and cited concerns about appliance-induced vertigo. Police observed the washing machine and explained that spin cycles are contained within the appliance and don't affect people standing outside the machine. 43. A man in West Virginia called 911 to report that his snowblower was discriminating against different types of snow by clearing some snowfall effectively while struggling with other snow conditions, claiming winter precipitation prejudice in violation of meteorological equality standards. He demanded police investigate his snow removal equipment for weather discrimination and establish equal treatment policies for all types of snowfall. Officers examined the snowblower and explained that different snow conditions require different removal techniques, and that equipment performance varies based on weather conditions rather than snow discrimination. 44. A woman in Washington, D.C. contacted police because her electric pencil sharpener was too aggressive toward pencils, claiming the device was engaged in wooden implement assault through excessive sharpening action that violated her writing tool's right to maintain their original length. She provided evidence of shortened pencils and demanded police regulate her office equipment's enthusiasm for point creation. Officers tested the pencil sharpener and found normal operation explaining that pencil length reduction is the intended purpose of sharpening devices rather than assault against writing implements. 45, and finally there's Harold from Indiana, who called authorities to report that his smart doorbell was gossiping about him to other smart devices in the neighborhood, claiming the device was sharing video footage of his daily activities with electronic neighbors and violating his privacy through inter-device communication networks. He demanded police investigate the smart doorbell conspiracy and install jamming equipment to prevent his devices from talking about him behind his back. Officers examined the doorbell's connectivity settings and explained that smart home devices communicate with authorized networks rather than gossip about homeowners, and that Harold could adjust his privacy settings rather than file criminal charges against his own security equipment for performing its intended surveillance functions. Here's the brutal truth about police reports. They've become a record of humanity's ability to find problems in literally everything, including inanimate objects that are simply doing their jobs. These calls prove that some people believe law enforcement should solve every inconvenience in their lives, regardless of whether those inconveniences involve actual crimes or just normal interactions with household appliances. The real crime was the time these officers spent documenting complaints about aggressive garden gnomes and discriminatory toasters. Want to know the secret to avoiding ridiculous police reports? Try reading instruction manuals replacing batteries and understanding that household appliances aren't plotting against you before calling 911. But if your microwave starts actually talking back, that might be worth a call. Subscribe if you want to keep your dignity longer than these callers kept their common sense.